It's an absolutely wild day in the world of Magic the Gathering. There are multiple problems with the upcoming Final Fantasy Magic set. On top of that, Final Fantasy has caused a rules change in Magic the Gathering, and that's not even all the news we're going to talk about today.
Magic.
I am a wizard!
History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for an ultra stuffed edition of Mega Magic News. I have a whole page worth of items to talk about because you may have noticed I've been gone for a little bit. And whenever that happens, there is a ton of news to catch up on top of the fact that I just miss hanging out with you guys. So, first thing I want to let you know is people have been telling me that they've been getting unsubscribed from my channel. This happens now and again, so this is just a reminder that if you want to be subscribed, double check that you are. So, there is a massive amount of news to talk about, right? We have production delays. We have confusion around Magic products. We've got rules change. We've got stuff going on with GameStop, a summer game fest. There is a bunch of news to cover. And there definitely is some sticker shock out there, especially with things like the pre-releases in places like Canada, right? Some places in America, it's like, hey, our pre-releases used to be like $30. Now it's going to be $50. Here in Canada, oh no, son. Final Fantasy pre-release probably going to run you about $85. So depending on where you are in the world, it's absolute madness when it comes to this, right? Final Fantasy is the best-selling Magic set of all times. The frenzy is real. The question becomes, can Wizards top this, right? Because Final Fantasy is really almost like crossing over with more than a dozen games as opposed to just one game. You cross over with Fortnite, okay, you got that crossover going on. The Assassin's Creed crossover, yes, it did encompass multiple games, but you know what, Assassin's Creed isn't nearly as deep as Final Fantasy is, right? So Final Fantasy is doing a lot of things that we have not seen before. And speaking of Final Fantasy, the secret layers, there's going to be a secret layer super drop coming out. That's one of the news items on the list. And there's going to be 3 different Final Fantasy secret layers. One will be based on different ways of losing the game. One will be based on different signature spells. So particular characters have particular magics that they use. And then another one is based on unique weaponry. So Yuna's staff, Cloud's Buster Sword. If that secret layer had just been announced today, then I'd show you more of the cards in it and go through it all. But at this point, it's just a heads up. If you haven't heard already, there's a secret layer super drop coming. It's got 3 different Final Fantasy secret layers. A couple other ones tucked in there. Of note, one will be Frank Frazetta, and the other will be Phil Foglio. So if you're a fan of either of those artists, they are going to be in that super drop as well. All right, so in terms of problems for Final Fantasy, the biggest one is there's actually going to be a delay of products. This is specifically for mainland China. So what's going to happen is the pre-release starts this weekend, and I am super hyped about it. Pre-release is my favorite time in Magic the Gathering. I mean, we get them every 6 weeks now. So I suppose that does take a little bit of the shine off of pre-releases because they feel a little more hurried. Come on, we got to get to the next one. But at the end of the day, it's the place where you get to experience everything brand new, right? Yeah, you may have looked at spoilers. This is the first time seeing the cards in play, actually seeing them in action, getting to smack down with them, and it just ends up putting a big smile on my face. It makes me genuinely happy to be a part of pre-releases. So I'm hyped on that. It gets a big thumbs up from me, all right? So the pre-release vibe is cool. But unfortunately for people in China, they're going to have to wait. So their pre-release is essentially going to be roped in with the regular release, and everything's going to come out June 13th to June 19th, which sucks, man. Honestly, at the pace that Magic goes, you might think to yourself, what's the big deal? What's a week? Well, now that we're on like a 6-week schedule, it actually makes a big difference. If you look at things like Arena, Final Fantasy's season for that, the Mastery Pass, is like 50 levels. That's the shortest I've ever seen for an Arena Mastery Pass. So it doesn't get much time in the sun. If you only have 6 weeks for a set being the new set and you lose one of those weeks, obviously you've just lost 1/6 in total. And that's a big deal. That is a big deal. All right? So that's one of the problems. The other problem is with a particular card, and that's with this. It's Vincent's Limit Break, right? So I'll toss it up on the screen for you to take a look at. Now, this is a spell that mostly we all know how this works, right? Black has a ton of spells like this that say, oh, my guy's going to the graveyard. Well, guess what? He's actually popping right back out of the graveyard. This has shown up with more and more ubiquity to the point where, with obnoxious regularity, my opponents are popping their creatures back out of the graveyard. So this one is different in that previous ones will give you a little bit of a power boost, right? Maybe they'll say you get +2 power or you get +1 power in Death Touch. But this one has a power and toughness setting ability. And a bunch of people are reading this as if the creature comes back from the graveyard with the set power and toughness. But that's not how it actually works. It changes the set power and toughness of the creature while it's in play, right? And then when the creature comes back, it's regular. The easiest way to be able to tell how that works is to take a look at the quotations in the rules text. So the quotation marks show you what part of the ability is actually being applied to your creature. So when it says in quotations just the part about returning from the graveyard, but the power toughness setting stuff has nothing to do with that, it's not actually in quotations, then you know, okay, so I play the spell, I change the creature that's attacking or whatever right now into these base stats, and then if it goes to graveyard, it comes back, but it comes back as a regular copy. It doesn't have any changed stats whatsoever. And this one is a departure from what we're accustomed to, so it is causing some confusion for some people and causing some problems. So Final Fantasy has also caused a rules change to Magic the Gathering, specifically in regards to Saga cards. So you may not know this, but if a Saga loses all of its abilities, then it's instantly sacrificed because it has no chapters, which feels very, very strange, but ultimately wasn't really a big issue up until now. Sagas with creatures, however, where basically it counts as an enchantment creature, changes things for wizards considerably, where now you have creatures that can easily be turned into a saga with no abilities. There are tons of cards that say this creature loses all abilities. So under the rules of Magic the Gathering up until now, if I turned your saga creature into a creature with no abilities, you would have to instantly sacrifice it. But that isn't very easy to understand, is it? Your brain just goes, well, if he has no abilities, he's still a creature, he can still fight and do his stuff, but no, you would have to sacrifice him. But to make things less confusing for people, Wizards has changed the rules, so now sagas with no abilities don't actually have to be sacrificed. This is one of those rules changes that is really solid because at the end of the day, most people aren't even going to know about this rules change, but they're going to play it properly because instinctively you're going to think to yourself, well, of course this creature just sticks around. So that is pretty solid in terms of a little bit of a tweak that makes things smoother, does ultimately change the rules of Magic, but at the end of the day is done in an under the hood kind of way. And there was so much news in today's video that I actually forgot this in the first go through and had to sneak back and edit it in. But the good news is you can't even tell. All right, so next item on the list is Final Fantasy merch is showing up in a bunch of different locations. You can find Final Fantasy sleeves if you want some of those over on the Square Enix website. You can find Final Fantasy playmats for sale in GameStop. GameStop has been leaning more and more into card games and things like that. It's kind of weird, honestly. They're buying up slabbed, like PSA graded cards and reselling them, and the whole thing, it just feels like GameStop is ill-equipped to get into the Magic merch kind of vibe. But at the same time, GameStop is a pretty big train wreck compared to what it used to be, right? I remember when that was like a video game store, and now you go into it, and it's just kind of a confused mess of, are you a video game store? Are you a Hot Topic? Like, they're just selling all kinds of random stuff. That company was supposed to collapse apparently, and then the whole investing nonsense that happened where everybody went and flooded their money. That's actually a really fascinating story. What happened with the whole Walmart versus not Walmart, Wall Street versus regular people, institutional investors getting hosed out of like billions of dollars. It's absolutely wild that that's what caused GameStop to keep going, and now they've moved on into Magic the Gathering stuff. But wanted to toss that out there in case you're interested in finding some of the more, I guess, obscure Magic merch, because who knows, maybe GameStop has some kind of deal where they're getting some special ones. There's apparently about 30 different Final Fantasy playmats. A lot of time and resources has been specifically focused in on Final Fantasy. That's part of the reason we saw Tarkir stagger so much. Now, the good news is, unlike Tarkir, the cards that I've seen from Final Fantasy, the quality actually seems pretty decent. If you didn't know, I did a couple live streams opening some Final Fantasy stuff. Both those live streams are up over on my live stream archive channel, so if you want to see a number of packs getting open, the quality seemed like, I mean, obviously the foils are still not the hottest, but overall, the quality I've seen so far looks pretty good. That is Japanese quality printing, though, right? It doesn't specifically reference North American printing. But in that regard, actually, tonight, I'm going to be opening up a Final Fantasy pre-release kit over on my live stream archive. And if I'm not mistaken, these are produced in North America, unless they've changed it, right? So, yeah, made in USA. Okay, so these will be North American boosters, and I'm going to crack these open tonight to check out the quality, and there's a chance too that it will have one of the special 20-siders. If you didn't know, the pre-release kits will have special crystal D20. So if you get one that looks like kind of almost like a translucent blue, it'll look different than the normal pre-release kit dice, right? So you've got it's either a 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 chance of getting one of those, and they'll actually have matching 10-sided crystal dice available at the pre-release as well. And there is a special AR pin, a Final Fantasy augmented reality pin as well, but I think that has to do with the Commander event. They're doing chocobo races. There is a bunch of stuff. They sent out posters. I saw the kit that comes out to the game stores with all of the different things the store gets, and they are really going whole hog with Final Fantasy, which is pretty awesome. So the next item on the list is Magic the Gathering is going to be at Summer Game Fest, which is a video game festival. So there's a couple of different reasons that this might be going on. It might be that Arena is getting released to video game consoles, right? So you might have a scenario where Wizards wants to get the word out there because now you're going to be able to play it on Switch or Xbox or whatever, because right now you can only play it on your computer. You can get it through Steam, so you can technically play it on a Steam Deck. I have, but ultimately it is just computer only. So it might be that they're announcing Arena. It might be an announcement of some sort of new platform, right? Where maybe they've got a new video game altogether. It could be something Commander based, because remember, we did hear about the Commander stuff that was going on. So it's impossible to know 100% what's going down, but it definitely does make me genuinely curious, right? Are they going to do something like they did where we had that Diablo style clone game, where that game had a lot of potential, honestly. The magic spells didn't feel like Magic the Gathering, but you actually got to wander around in worlds that were Magic the Gathering worlds. They looked right, they had the proper feel to them, so it'd be really cool if we got something like that. We don't know everything that Wizards has planned, but we do know one thing they have planned, and this ties into previous news that I talked about. Remember when I talked about how Gatherer doesn't actually provide you the proper information? It can give you out-of-date information, so you're actually playing Magic incorrectly, and they literally send you to Gatherer going, here's where you can check out the rulings. So I talked about how Gatherer's all messed up. Wizards of the Coast just announced today that they're going to be doing a bunch of improvements to Gatherer. Now, the way they made it sound mostly like visual improvements, but I can't help but think that they're also going to update the back end of it as well on top of the user interface so that it pulls properly from the Oracle database, you know? It's pretty embarrassing when you have to go to a third-party company to get the actual proper wordings for Magic cards when the company themselves has a first-party app. Gather used to be the big thing. It used to be the big place you go to look for Magic cards, and there was an actual conversation. Each individual card had basically its own forum dedicated to it where you could talk about the different things you did with it. There's tons of comments that were left, and then Wizards just kind of let it be, okay, you know what, other people are doing it, conversations happen elsewhere, let's just kind of take advantage of that. That's what Wizards does, though. They take advantage of other people doing the work where they don't have to pay, right? So ultimately, it's good that they're taking the time and effort to improve Gather, especially since we're going to see an influx of new players because of Final Fantasy, right? So there was more news. I kept it all as tight as I could here for you, my friends. I'll be live streaming tonight over on my live stream channel with that pre-release kit if you want to come by and hang out. A big shout out to my patrons for supporting my channel. You guys rule. And I will see you all, my friends, in the next video.